So today is April the 9th. What are we going to do now that we had this total solar eclipse? Well, it just so happens that we actually have two more eclipses this year. We have a partial lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces, and that takes place on September the 17th of this year, as well as a solar eclipse on April 2nd at 10 degrees of Libra. So for those who are like, oh my gosh, this was the end of the world, it's not meant to be the end of the world. It's meant to shift an era. Eclipses are really here to help Mother Earth go through her upgrade cycles. And in this particular case, this total solar eclipse took place across a pivotal geographical section of the United States of America, as well as parts of Canada. So I want to note this because the U.S., as a contract based on the Declaration of Independence, is going through something called a Pluto return. And even though the United States, Pluto is located in the sign of Capricorn, and Pluto currently is in the sign of Aquarius, there is going to be a brief stint with the United States, especially with the upcoming elections, where Pluto re-enters the sign of Capricorn and kind of brings back that energy just in time for the US elections. So for the presidential election, we're actually going to see these eclipses really come into play September and October. So it's going to be an interesting time. Also this week, we're going to see an alignment between Mars and Saturn, and that is going to be taking place on the 10th. We also have an alignment between Mercury and the Sun this week, which will be taking place on the 11th. Now, Saturn is the Lord of Karma, the Lord of Time. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see what actually transpires and goes on politically this week, especially because the alignment of Saturn and Mars are in the sign of Pisces. We saw the alignment of Venus and Mars in the sign of Pisces, and in the US that brought a major bridge collapse into water. So it's just going to be interesting. Keep your eyes on what goes on with water, what goes on in governments, because there is a geopolitical shift. And I also want to note that the eclipse that takes place on September the 17th is the lunar eclipse that is highlighted in the movie Leave the World Behind. I think that these governments play a long game, and what we're noticing is the connection between the fact that maybe these elitist regimes have access to astrology, hermetic laws, and the laws of energy in general. So really just kind of take note of what's going on a political scale, because it's going to continue to ramp up, and it doesn't have to happen on the exact date of a solar eclipse. It's just that this particular total solar eclipse took place along the United States of America's ley lines, and because of that, we're seeing a shift in the energy. Now, the download that I got for these upgrades is the fact that we're moving into New Earth. And as we move into New Earth energy in a time, maybe it's the age of Aquarius, maybe the Gaia is going to a different realm, who knows? But this is something that is a longer term energy for all of us. And quite honestly, I think that this eclipse itself is waking up a lot of people to their powers and gifts and intuition, mysticism, and looking at things from a perspective of maybe the things we were taught in school have absolutely nothing to do with what we know now. And maybe we're being shown that we're actually more powerful as a collective, as Pluto is showing in the sign of Aquarius, than these top 1% elites and old realm families that basically took up all the wealth for a lot of people. And we don't need their stuff, but they're scaring us and saying we need to be preppers, we need to do all this stuff, because there's this limited resource mentality amongst this old school of thought. This is an age that is also going to highlight women's power, and you would have to be sleeping under a rock to not recognize the fact that women's power is creative power, and women are here to build. And we've been living under a patriarchal society, and the United States itself is under a contract of capitalism that worships, whether you want to call it a god or whether you want to call it money, but worships this colonizer mentality, whether you call that patriarchy, capitalism, however, it's more of this divide and conquer mentality. And in the age of Aquarius, which we are moving forward through, and I'll continue to make videos on this, we are being shown that it's actually the collective that comes together. And I want to also note that if you're waking up to a lot of the bullshit that you were taught, like you have to earn your stripes, you have to hustle hard, you have to fall over in order to succeed, instead of what it should be, which is you should take care of your body, meditate, get good rest, be in nature. That old school of thought is shifting. So if there's somebody in your life that previously made you feel guilty about following your path, just know that maybe they are not on the path of receiving these downloads yet. Maybe they don't want to. And for those who are resisting, they're only going to be basically slapping themselves energetically the more they resist to change. And by the way, it's not up to you to get somebody to change. You just keep on changing on your path. If you feel like you're the only one in your family, in your friend group, in whatever circle you run with, that you start seeing these changes around you and people are calling you crazy, keep on doing you, because that's all you can do. And that's what this eclipse really wants to teach us, is that it is a long-term healing process. That's why this total solar eclipse was conjunct Chiron, which is the wounded healer. Sometimes the healer of the tribe, the healer of the group, is the one that sees things first and has to experience and endure the pain before others start opening their eyes or opening their third eye to what actually is going on around them. So I just want to make a little video, and I'll be back, and take care.